Jeff, welcome to the show.
Thanks for having me, Alex.
Yeah, very happy to have you. So, first off, why don't you tell me a little bit about your company, 180 Marketing?
So I started 180 Marketing back in 2013. Short of it is we're an e-commerce SEO company. So we only do SEO and we only do it for e-commerce sites.
Wow, that is short. I like it. So why just e-commerce sites? Is there a particular reason? I can understand the value of being niche.
Yep.
Why that decision?
So I kind of fell into it. When I was in my college years, I was trying to get some passive income. So I started a few drop shipping sites. Here I was a college student trying to make beer money. So I started a e-commerce site selling beer pong tables. Got some sales there. Ended up selling it to a manufacturer. Started another e-commerce site that sold 3D printers online. And I don't know, I had experience with e-commerce. I was fascinated by it. So I thought might as well just stick there. But also, like you mentioned, it's good to kind of niche down. There's so many SEO companies out there, but if you did the SEO for e-commerce sites, or the SEO for real estate agents, or for law firms, I feel like that kind of also makes you stand out.
hmm No, I can totally dig that. And honestly, your story is about as authentically entrepreneurial as I've ever heard. We started selling beer pong tables in college.
That's
It's
pretty much
extremely
it.
entrepreneurial. I appreciate it. So, in SEO marketing, before we kind of get started about your process in 180 marketing, what is the ultimate goal in SEO marketing? I mean, is it as simple as, the top Google result upon a request, or what is it?
Yeah, there's a few KPIs or key performance indicators we look at. The most important is revenue. So again, we're working with only e-commerce sites, so we want to make sure that when we check Google Analytics, their organic search revenue is going up year over year. So that's the main one. We also want to keep an eye on organic search traffic, make sure that's trending up. But here's the thing: if you can create a bunch of blog posts that could rank well and drive a lot of traffic, but if that traffic's not converting into revenue, it's not going to be that valuable for you.
Mhm. Yeah, no, I think that makes a lot of sense, honestly. I mean, I think in the more meta of like, okay, yeah, you'd like the top Google result, but if that doesn't actually turn into profit, then that's pretty much just an achievement or a badge that
Yeah.
doesn't really serve any actual purpose. Um, so what are the roles of the 9 different team members that work on a client's campaign? Because that's something that your website has said y'all are really proud of, is the attention that you give to clients. So you have 9 different team members on a campaign. What are all their different roles?
Yeah, I'll break it down to kind of the few main departments we have and then kind of break
Sure.
that down further. So at a high level, there's really only three teams we have. There's the SEO specialist. This is doing like page optimization, fixing technical SEO issues, doing internal linking. Then there's the content team that's creating blog posts, category descriptions, optimizing pages, creating content for product pages. And then there's the link building team. Those are the ones that are going to be promoting the content, pitching product reviews, and doing other link building and content marketing plays. So that's in most SEO efforts, you can kind of segment it down to just those 3 buckets, like on-page SEO, content, link building. And when we can break it out further. So like on our link building team, we have the website researcher who's trying to find prospects of sites we can reach out to. Link building is one of the most important ranking factors. So we want to get as many other websites linking back to our clients' websites as possible. And as those backlinks come in, they're going to move up higher in the rankings, get more traffic, and get more revenue. So we
Mhm.
have the person who's finding those websites to contact. We have the person who's actually reaching out, sending the emails, and conversing with them. We have the strategist who kind of puts together the game plan of which niches do we want to target, which angles are we going to use for each niche, how can we personalize these emails to get a higher response rate. Then on the on-page SEO side, we have your typical SEO specialist who's in the weeds, updating title tags, meta descriptions. We have an SEO developer who does the technical audits, making sure that the code looks good, how's site speed looking, is there any issues that could impact crawling or rankings. Then we also have like an SEO strategist who looks to see like what game, like higher level, like scope out the game plan. What does the next 6 months need to look like? How much focus do we put on page optimization versus content versus link building? What does the site actually need so there's no fluff? And then on the content side, it's writers and editors. So as you can see, there's you got 3 main components of SEO, but within that, there's a lot of moving parts.
And I love that that's per campaign. That's not just like your people who work for 180
Yeah.
marketing. That's all the people that each client is getting kind of at their disposal. So for the rest of the conversation here, I want to break down essentially the 5-step SEO process that y'all provide, kind of beat by beat, if that's all right with you.
Sure.
In the first stage of this 5-step process, you call it the discovery stage. You essentially perform an audit on a client's website. What are you really looking for during this step?
So, when we first hop on a client, we're not there to even like pitch our services or talk about ourselves. We just want to see, is there enough SEO opportunity to justify an investment in SEO? And the way we do that is we want to see how much search volume are there for their keywords. We want to see how competitive are those keywords. And from doing that, if their main keywords are only getting, 100 or 200 searches per month, it probably doesn't make sense spending a few thousand a month on an SEO campaign. Maybe SEO is not the best channel. This is usually the case for like if someone creates like a new product to market that hasn't really existed yet and people don't know about it. If no one knows about it, they're not going to be searching for it. So SEO is usually not the best channel for those types of like new products that someone invented. Whereas if you're selling something that everyone knows, like protein powder, gaming laptop, whatever it might be, there's so many searches per month, and those might have a lot more search volume and be more lucrative if you can get some good rankings. So we want to see first off how much search volume is there for the target keywords, and then how competitive it is. And if a site kind of has a lot of keywords that are high search volume, low competition, we can then move forward to the next part of the campaign, which is kind of scoping things out.
That's great. And I read that you do this step essentially before a client really signs anything. Yeah. And hearing you talk about it just now, it's like if this is even going to be a good match, right? So do you essentially perform this audit totally free of charge?
Yeah, we do it free of charge. People reach out, we hop on Zoom, we pull up the rankings on screen, we show them, here's where your positions are, here's where you need. We'll also kind of talk about any potential risk factors. So for example, if a e-commerce site has thousands of pages, we can, you're diversified. We're not putting all our eggs on just one basket or one keyword or one page. We have all these pages we can use to increase rankings and traffic. But if you have a small site with just one product and there's only one keyword going after, you're going to live or die by that one keyword. And if that keyword happens to be stubborn, it's going to be a lot more risky. And like another risk factor that we always let people know about is if you have a premium product, it's always going to be harder to rank in Google. Whereas if you have kind of like a budget product, it's much easier. This is why you see Amazon and Walmart, they rank so well. And the reason for that is if you have 100 people searching for, let's just say, what's a good example? Like lamps. Let's say I'm just looking at my office, lamps. You got 100 people looking for lamps. Most people, I'd say the majority, are looking for the most budget. Like I just want something that looks decent, is cheap. You might have like 10 to 15%, maybe even 20% that's looking for a premium high-end lamp, but it's the masses just want something cheap. So if Google sees that everyone's clicking on the cheap option, staying there, but then most people, when they click on the expensive option, they hit the back button, go back to the cheap option. That's a very strong signal to Google that maybe this shouldn't be ranked as highly. So that's why naturally you'll see lower cost products kind of float to the top, and the more expensive premium brands usually don't rank as well.
No, that's extremely insightful. That makes a lot of sense to me, especially when I'm looking for luxury, but this is even too much luxury for me,
And
yeah,
one
please.
thing I'll add is during this kind of discovery process, we end up only taking on about half the clients that reach out to us, and that's just because a lot of cases there's just not potential for us to bring a positive ROI. And having done this stuff for over a decade, having those conversations up front goes way better than 6 months down the road. They've spent thousands of dollars and now they're finding out it's too competitive, or now they're finding out there's not enough search volume.
No, totally. And I can imagine being able to be transparent with a brand at the opening of the conversation is probably pretty beneficial for your brand, of the positive word of mouth that can bring. They weren't able to help me out, but they did an audit free of charge, so they might be able to help you out, or you can at least find out if they can. Or a company can grow or change enough to where down the road you're going to be the first call that they probably make once they make a couple changes.
Yeah.
So in the second stage, after the discovery stage in the SEO process, you'll perform essentially the research stage. You investigate the client's competitors' websites, Google Analytics ratings, keyword research tools, and a bunch of other valuable information. Do you find the client's competitors, or is that something that the client typically provides to you?
Both. So we'll say like, hey, what are the competitors that you're keeping a pulse on, that you're checking, that you're curious about? And then we'll also do our own research to see like, what are the true SEO organic competitors that are also ranking for the most keywords. So that just gives us kind of a more consolidated list. And during the research process, we want to see how many pages need to be optimized. If it's a bigger site, we want to know, we want to prioritize and be strategic. Like if we're investing resources into optimizing a page, we want to make sure that there's a lot of value from it. So we always want to like do a bunch of research. We want to see like, what are your competitors, like do a content gap. What are your competitors writing about that you haven't covered yet? Make sure we're kind of filling in those blanks. We want to do research on the technical side to see, what technical SEO issues do we need to investigate. So there's a lot of research that goes in. We'll kind of plan out the first 6 months to see what are we going to do the first 2 weeks? What are we going to do the first month? What are we going to do the first few months? And have it all broken down from the beginning so we know exactly what we're going to do. There's no fluff, and kind of the whole SEO foundation's laid out.
Mm-hmm. I think they say fail to plan, plan to fail.
Yeah.
How do you determine the value of certain keywords over others? I mean, what makes certain keyword phrases more valuable to a client than others?
The number one is going to be the search volume. So using different tools like Ahrefs or SEMrush or Google Keyword Planner, you can see how many times a keyword is getting searched per month. So obviously, the higher the search volume, the more traffic potential that keyword has. But you also want to look at the search intent. If someone searches for something like hair extensions, you don't know if they're looking to buy hair extensions. You don't know if they're trying to research what it is. You don't know if they want to look at it could be a transactional search. It could be an informational search. You don't know what they're looking for. So that could have high search volume, but maybe it's not going to convert as well if someone's searching like blonde hair extensions. Well, now it's a little more specific, it's a little more detailed. They're probably looking to purchase. So looking at the intent of the keyword and trying to understand, what is someone looking for when they search this? Are they looking to go to a category page or a product page and buy something, or they just want some general information?
Mm-hmm. That's very interesting. I had never really thought about that when it comes to intent. What's the typical amount of keywords that you try to find for a client? How many words should be used if it's a phrase? I mean, you mentioned that one probably isn't great, right? So
Yeah.
What is that number?
The more keywords you can target, the better. There are some sites where you only have a few, like 1 or 3 keywords that you can really go after, and you just kind of have to go all in and go heavy on those. But I'd say it's all dependent on the industry. Like, you're gonna have some industries that have a massive websites have a massive catalog, and there's gonna be thousands or tens of thousands or sometimes hundreds of thousands of keywords you're going after. And sites like that, it's gonna be more of a kind of a macro approach. You might not be optimizing every single page. You're gonna look more for like, what are the general site-wide changes can I make to help all these keywords up? That could be things like improving site speed. If you improve the speed of a website, every page now is getting a little bit of a boost. Or maybe your internal linking structure, your website structure, your top nav. If you get that dialed, then everything starts ranking better. So you kind of have the micro versus macro. Again, macro, a big site, you're looking at what can I do to impact thousands of keywords. Whereas a smaller site, you're saying you can get more into the weeds on like, let's optimize this page, let's optimize the content on this page, and the strategy and technique is going to be different based on how large the site is.
I'm interested too. We kind of laid the groundwork on this next question. Is what's the difference between SEO keywords that simply market a business versus ones that actually increase the revenue of a business?
Yeah, you have some key, and kind of like you see this most in blog posts. So like people most e-commerce store owners I've talked to, they think they need to have a blog. They think they need to just be cranking out content for the sake of creating content, and there's not a lot of strategy that goes into it. And these blog posts, they could rank for lots of great keywords. Going back to the hair extensions example, let's say you're selling hair extensions online. Having a page, what are hair extensions? You could rank and drive lots of traffic, but if someone's searching what are hair extensions, they're not going to buy anything. They don't even know what it was a second ago. So if they're searching for it, they're probably not going to buy it. Whereas if someone searches for like natural versus synthetic hair extensions, they might be in the research stage looking to purchase something. If someone's searching like best hair extensions, now there's more buying intent. They're probably still doing research. Or if someone searches like hair extensions for cancer patients, like it's very clear like what the intent is. So kind of goes back to what we talked about earlier, is you want to find keywords that have a conversion search intent, where the person searching that keyword is likely to make a purchase or transaction.
That's extremely interesting, honestly. Like I never really would have thought of that, if I'm being honest with you, is all those different additional phrases tacked on to the actual idea, product, or service in and of itself that are going to lead more to a sale than research. I, in my role and in my daily life, don't Google a lot to buy. I usually Google a lot for research. So I imagine there are different things in the way that are leading me toward educational websites more than product websites.
Right.
So moving on into the third stage of the process, optimization. How do you implement those keywords specifically into a website?
So there's a few things we want to do. Like, let's say we'll stick with like gaming laptops. Let's say you want to rank for gaming laptops. You're going to have your gaming laptops category page. You want to put the keyword and the title tag. The title tag is that blue link that shows up in Google search results. If you're using Chrome, it's also the text that shows up in the tab. That's the title tag. So it's one of the most important ranking factors, and you want to have your keyword as close to the beginning of that title tag as possible. So you'd start off with just like gaming laptops, and then maybe you have something interesting there, like lowest prices on the market, or free shipping on all orders over X, or something captivating to get them to click you. It's also like a ad headline in Google search results if you think about it. So you want to have the keyword in there. You also want to put in the meta description. That's those 2 lines of black text that show up in Google search results under the title tag. And that, if you have the keywords in there, Google's going to bold it. It's going to make it more captivating. You're going to have a higher click-through rate. Then on the page itself, you want to put on the heading. At the top, you want to have a header that says gaming laptops. Make sure that's there front and center. And then you want to have a content, typically at least around 200 words of content talking about your gaming laptops, the benefits of gaming laptops, why they're better than normal laptops, the different brands you sell, and any information about like your return policy, your shipping policy, any information that'd be helpful for someone looking to purchase gaming laptops. You'd want to have that in there, and you want to have the main keyword in there. So, it could be gaming laptops. It could be, you want to use related keywords as well. Like if you're selling gaming laptops, you better be mentioning, Intel or NVIDIA or AMD, or maybe mention Fortnite. And, you want to use kind of closely related terms to, gaming laptops. So when Google sees like, okay, this is a very comprehensive page and it's covering gaming laptops and kind of related topics, I feel safe ranking this higher for gaming laptops.
High RAM, I think that's
RAM, SSD, gigahertz. Google's going to expect to see all those types of keywords on a page selling gaming laptops.
So what are some strategies that brands often overlook when attempting to use these keywords? Because the advice you gave is great, but there's got to be a reason that it doesn't always work. So what are the things that brands are overlooking?
A lot of times, brands just don't put content on category pages. It's like, hey, we got products on this page, they can buy it, great. And that's true. It's going to give users what they want, but it's, search engines, they need more context. Like they want to understand the page. And one of the ways they do that is through contextual content. So I'd say for some reason, a lot of brands just overlook having any content on category descriptions. And I'm not saying drop a wall of text and make your beautiful category pages look ugly. You want to also be very user focused and have a good user experience. So maybe you just show a few lines and you have a read more button that will expand to give the whole description, or maybe you put some at the top and some at the bottom. There's kind of workarounds where you can still make your category pages look great, while also giving Google what it wants. And then as far as actually including those keywords, there's two tips that work really well. You just search your keyword, scroll down to the bottom of Google, and look at the related keywords. So like, if I was to type in gaming laptops and I was to scroll down to the bottom of Google, it's going to say things like, actually, it looks like Google's not showing anymore on desktop. But if I go to Google image search, you know how they have that refinement bar at the top of Google image search? That's Google's giving you all these related terms and keywords to whatever you search. So I just put in gaming laptops and I see things like Alienware, Lenovo, Windows 10, Core i7, custom, gamer, keyboard. So they're kind of telling you all these great keywords that you can sprinkle into your content. So it's going to be more relevant and rank better.
Because I can imagine, just you giving that example reminds me that added products are probably important too, in terms of like, let's say I'm searching for a gaming laptop. It's probably going to be the same person who might be looking for a gaming mouse or a gaming keyboard or other products that aren't necessarily what they were looking for, that can also then be pitched to them. Is that something that kind of goes into, the SEO for e-commerce brands at the same time?
Yes and no. So like if you have a page on gaming laptops, you want to be as hyper focused on gaming laptops as possible, but you can still bridge and make connections to your other products. So maybe from your gaming laptops, you have a section, it could be at the bottom, it says like, related categories. And then that's linking off to your gaming mouses page, your gaming keyboards page. So you can kind of taking a step back for a second, not just looking at the page, looking at your site structure. You can organize your site in a way where it makes sense. So you have like, it could be gaming laptops, and then you also have gaming mouses, gaming keyboards, and they're all kind of referencing each other in the same hierarchy. And then underneath that, you have your products. So you can kind of build out this hierarchy and structure your website. And there's nothing wrong with cross-linking between pages.
Sure, great. That's excellent advice. Moving on, during the technical analysis stage of the process, which, in my personal opinion, you can give us more insight on, that seems to be the most specialized service that you provide. What specifically are you essentially analyzing when you look at a company's website?
The main thing we're looking at is, can Google and other search engines crawl every page on this website? Is it easy for search engines to get to the pages that we're trying to rank? Once they get to those pages, are they going to see everything they need to index that page so it actually can show up and rank well? And once it's indexed, does it have the necessary factors in place so that way it's going to rank as good as it could? So if I talk about the indexing part, you want to make sure you're not blocking your pages and your robots.txt file. This is kind of a file that every website has. I could go to your website, put in /robots.txt at the end, and I can see how your file is configured. So you always want to make sure Google can get to every page on your website. Once it gets there, you want to make sure it's indexable. You don't want to have a no index tag. You don't want to have duplicate content issues that could prevent Google from indexing your pages. And then on the ranking side, you have things like site speed. That can help your rankings. You have things like schema or structured data, which the short of it is, if you search a product into Google, maybe you see that star rating under Amazon with the price and the reviews. That comes from what we call structured data, where in the source code, you can give search engines additional information about your products. So when they're displayed in Google, they have that star rating, they have the price, and that's going to take more real estate in the search results and get you a high click-through rate. So within each of these indexing or crawling, indexing, ranking buckets, there's a lot of little tweaking and finagling can do to make sure you're maximized and your pages can rank as strongly as possible.
And that's something that anyone can really do. I can't just maybe a little bit go through my website and determine what are the specific things that are below the surface that are getting in my way a little bit.
It's for sure the most technical part about search engine optimization. It kind of touches on coding. It's something where a developer is going to get involved a bit more. It has a little more complexity than the other parts of SEO.
Sure, I totally believe that. In the final stage, link building, which you talked about a little bit already, you're essentially establishing healthy links to a client's website. which is known to be a vital strategy in increasing SEO ranking. What determines the difference between a healthy backlink versus a toxic one?
That is a very important question, because you have people, they'll go on Fiverr, they'll say, hey, I can get 300 backlinks for $12. And they're thinking they're doing themselves a service. And this used to work really well like 15, 20 years ago. But nowadays, if you're just kind of doing this quantity over quality approach and getting all these junky directory links or forum links or blog post comments, if Google sees that, that can actually work against you, and in some cases harm your website and your rankings and get penalized. So we always want to make sure we're building quality links. And what is a quality link? Well, you want to make sure it's relevant. If you're selling gaming laptops, getting a link from a pet blog isn't going to do much for you. You want to get links from computer hardware sites, from gaming websites. The more relevant, like relevancy plays a huge place. You want to make sure that the source is relevant. You also want to look at the authority of the website, and using tools like Ahrefs, SEMrush, Moz, Majestic. There's ways you can see, they have some SEO metrics where they can say they give every domain on the website a score 1 to 100, and the higher that domain rating score, the higher that domain authority score, the more valuable a link from that site is going to be. So you also want to look at the authority of the site. But what I just described, a lot of people just stop right there and that's it. But there's kind of a few other checks that we do to be even more careful. We want to see, what's the traffic trend of this website? Are they growing, or are they a spammy website that got penalized and their traffic fell off a cliff? So if we see that a site lost a huge amount of its traffic year over year, we don't want to touch it. We also want to see who else are they linking to. So we'll see, are they linking to sites that sell like pharmaceuticals or crypto or CBD or some of the casinos? If we see that the link into this, it's kind of a sign that they're just a link farm. They'll link to anybody who has a wallet. And Google's pretty good at discounting those types of backlinks. And then the last thing we want to see is, where's their traffic source coming from? If we have a client who's trying to rank in the US, we want to make sure the site we're reaching out to, most of their traffic comes from the US. Those are just some of the checks that we'll do to make sure that the links can actually provide value and not cause any harm.
That's great. Also, in this stage, you're providing content marketing, right? With designed specific infographics that help provide valuable backlinks to different blogs and stuff like that. How do you decide where these infographics that you and your team are taking the time to design for a client, how do you decide where they go?
So we always want to have it live on the client's website. So basically what we'll do is we'll create like an infographic or a research page. We'll do a big statistic, create like a big report of industry statistics, but bunch of different angles we can take. But we want it to live on the client's website. And then we want to promote it out there to a bunch of other relevant blogs. Again, relevancy being key. And we want to, if a site, for example, let's say gaming laptops, maybe we create a recycling guide on how to recycle your gaming laptop, and then we can or it could be gaming laptops or just laptops, and we could then promote that to like a bunch of like different websites, like maybe like eco-friendly websites. We could promote it to like we've gotten success getting links from like local county government sites that have like a sustainability resource section, and we can get have them mentioned to it. We can also do infographics on things like statistics. We could do gaming statistics in 2023, or how has the pandemic impacted gaming? When everyone's at home, did we see a rise in gaming? What does that look like? And then kind of pitch that to a bunch of journalists for a variety of gaming websites out there.
Great. What is, in your opinion, we've kind of wrapped up on the 5-step SEO process, and you did a great job hitting it beat by beat, because I had a lot of honest questions about it. More macro and kind of big picture looking, what's the biggest misconception about SEO marketing?
The biggest one I see is that it's just luck. No one knows what's going, like it's like the stock market. No one really knows what's happening. It goes up or down. Experts are always wrong. And I think a lot of people got that taste in their mouth from 2010 to 2013 or 2014. Google went on a penalizing spree. A bunch of these so-claimed SEO experts that were doing shady stuff, building crappy backlinks that weren't relevant and spammy, they got penalized for it. And a lot of people didn't want to work with SEOs after that. How could these self-proclaimed experts be getting such terrible results? So a lot of people kind of pulled back from SEO and started going towards paid. And the truth is SEO can work really well, but just like we talked about, there's just so many moving pieces and everything has to be dialed in just right. So, it's not just throw up a page, you'll start ranking, or build a few links and start ranking. You have to make sure you're targeting the right keyword that's not too competitive and has good search volume. You want to make sure the keywords in all the right places and that your content's optimized and that you have backlinks and you have a good site structure and your top nav's dialed in. There's no duplicate content issues. So there's so many things, and you could maybe do 90% of the things you're supposed to do, but maybe that last 10% is what's actually holding you back and you didn't know it. So you got to look at everything, uncover as many stones as possible. And SEO can work, but there's a lot of heavy lifting that goes into it, and you got to make sure you know where to look.
And you gave a lot of really good advice. Frankly, at my last job, I used SEM Rush personally to see how we were doing, and that was a great tool. That is I don't know, it was just extremely useful, especially looking at competitors. That was something that I used it primarily for. So that's really good advice. Our last question that I always ask our guests essentially revolves around the idea of work-life harmony and how entrepreneurs are operating always on call, and how that can get in the way of work-life balance and a good, safe, stable mental health at times. So, Jeff, my question to you is, what are some of your hobbies and interests that you look forward to or participate in to ensure a good mental health?
Yeah, I don't really have too many exciting hobbies. I'd say for now it's pretty much just family time on weekends in the afternoon. If taking our 2-year-old to a park puts a smile on my face, or just watching a movie with the family. I do some exercising, so I've been doing weightlifting and soccer. That's kind of make sure that it keeps me healthy. But yeah, indoor soccer is my jam right now. And but as far as like mental health and work-life balance, I think being married has kind of my wife has definitely helped with that. We're like, I've before work would just kind of creep into all aspects. If it could be 9 p.m. and if I see I got an email, I have to go to my computer and do it. Whereas, being married, now we have like strict boundaries, like, okay, 5 p.m. it's family time. And, we don't work on weekend. There might be a few exceptions, but they're few and far between. So I think just kind of having that opposing force to keep like, these are the work hours, do as much as you can in these hours. It's also kind of helped me to scale things. Whereas before I might just do it myself. I'm like, crap, I don't have enough time to do this anymore. I got to hire someone to do it, or I have to document this process and pass this off to someone else. So that way I can get as much done as possible in my limited fixed time.
That's great. Really appreciate talking with you, and good luck with 180 Marketing.
Great. Likewise, Alex, this was fun.